3 hours after I gave birth alone, my mom texted me, "Your sister's kids expect new phones. Send $2,000. No, congrats. Just a bill." A week later, she used her spare key to barge into my house and demand an apology. That's when I stopped being my family's ATM. I'm 26. My older sister was the golden child and I was the backup plan. If her life wobbled, my mom called me like a debt collector. Help your sister. Do it for the kids. Don't be selfish. I paid for years because I kept hoping one day I'd matter too. At 11 p.m., my husband got a call. His dad collapsed on a job site in Tucson. He grabbed his bag, kissed my forehead, and promised he'd be back before the baby came. Friday at 5:15 a.m., my water broke. I called him. No answer. Again, nothing. So I called my neighbor, an older woman in slippers who drove me to the hospital like she was saving me. My grandma was the only relative who checked in. She texted, "I've been praying since 5. You've got this, baby girl." I cried right there in the wheelchair. Labor was long and ugly. I counted breaths, stared at the ceiling, gripped the bed rail because nobody was there to hold my hand. My husband called midway through, wrecked, trying to get a flight back. I told him to stay with his dad. That night my daughter was born. Tiny, loud, perfect. I held her to my chest and thought, I'm not doing this old family dance anymore. 3 hours later, my mom's text came in. "Phones for the kid's birthday next month. Send $2,000. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Then I turned my phone over, and I didn't answer. A week later, I was home, exhausted, still healing, feeding my newborn on the couch. The front door opened. My mom walked in like she owned the place because she still had a spare key. She didn't look at the baby. She looked at me and said, "How could you ignore your own family when they needed you?" Something in me went cold behind my ribs. I stood up slowly, keeping my voice and hands steady. I set my daughter in her bassinet, gentle and silent. My mom kept talking like she couldn't hear herself. She said, "Your sister is hurt," like that was my job. She added, "Your nieces are disappointed," twisting the knife deeper. Then she sneered, "Who do you think you are?" I took one step closer, feeling my legs shake. Then I took another, close enough to smell her perfume. Then I lifted my hand, palm open, not a fist. Then the sound cracked through the room, sharp and final. Her face turned slightly, like even gravity changed sides. Her eyes went wide, like she'd never met consequences. She whispered, "You hit me," like I'd broken reality. I said, "You forgot I exist," so we're both surprised. She walked out like a ghost. I called my grandma, shaking. My grandma paused and said, "I don't condone hitting, but I've been waiting for you to stand up for yourself." My sister called next. "No, congratulations. Just, Mom told me what you did." I told her about the $2,000 text. She didn't deny it. She just said, "Well, the kids really do need phones." I laughed once and hung up. After that, the guilt messages came. "Your nieces think you don't love them. Your sister is devastated." 8 days postpartum, the room tilted while I was changing a diaper. I got my baby into the crib and hit the floor. In the ER, the doctor looked at my blood pressure and said, "Whatever is causing this stress stops today." My husband flew in on the next red eye. He listened, jaw tight. Then my mom marched into my hospital room, saw the IV in my arm, and sneered, "So now you're in the hospital. Is this the attention you wanted?" My husband stepped between us and said, calm as ice, "Leave, right now." My mom snapped, "That's my daughter." He said, "Then act like her mother. You put her here." 2 days later, we moved 2 hours away, near my grandma. New locks, no spare keys. I ate real meals. I slept. My phone stopped making me sick. Months passed. My grandma talked to my sister, and for the first time, my sister actually heard what our normal had cost me. She called and said, small and stunned, "I think I owe you an apology. I thought this is just how our family works." Then my mom called crying real, messy crying. She'd gone to my grandma's house, and my grandma had kept receipts for decades. My mom choked out, "I didn't know I was that person." I didn't give her a speech. I just said, "Okay." Thanksgiving, we met at my grandma's. My mom didn't demand money. She just asked quietly, "Can I hold the baby?" I handed my daughter over and watched my mom stare at her like she was finally seeing what she'd ignored in me. We're not perfect now, but they're finally trying. If you were in my shoes, would you have slapped her and let her back in? Drop your take in the comments.